Hi everyone. We are very glad that you made it until now. We are after an entire full day of information about DPI, wallet, digital credentials, standards, protocols, and so on and so forth. But we should not forget about digital signatures because people will always need to sign something, and we are here to discuss what is the evolution of digital signatures in the current context. Having on stage with me four experts. Let me introduce Andrea Valle from Adobe, Product Manager, Digital Identity and Trust Solutions. Arno, Arno Fiedler, who is Vice Chair of ETSI, Christopher Tullis, Senior Digital Specialist from the World Bank, and last but not least, Apladas, Head of International Trust and Identity Services sector from European Commission. And I'm Viky Manaila, Trust Services Director with ETSI Group and Cloud Signature Consortium President. So, clicker.
They got it.
Okay, yeah, sorry, no, it's fine. We'd like to discuss today the digital signature from three different perspectives on three different main pillars. One is about what is happening around the world because we have different regulatory requirements, implementations, and capacity of the countries implementing digital signatures. Then the second one regards the interoperability and standards in support of that. And the third one is related to legal recognition cross-border. And I would start with Christopher from the World Bank, asking his view on how the World Bank is helping emerging countries, developing countries in adopting.
Thank you so much, Vicky. It's been really interesting seeing all these presentations today. As Dave joked a second ago, we've seen the issuer wallet verifier diagram, I think 75 times. And what is under the hood there, all of us know in this room, is about 6 different digital signatures. Whether it's the verifiable and verifiable credential comes from the fact that you can verify a digital signature that is assuring the integrity of that data. Without that, we don't have trust. We don't, verifiers have no reason to believe any of this. And then also optionally, you can build digital signing capability into the wallet itself. And then you can have an e-signature. And it becomes a very convenient thing because you've got some, what else do you have in your wallet? You've got some data, you got some documents, you've got an identity credential, and you're sharing them. But if we can't then sign it or sign an agreement based on that data that's being shared, we're a little bit limited in the impact that's going to have. Sharing some data can verify our eligibility for some benefits. Identifying ourselves might authorize certain types of transactions. But the more meaningful interactions in the digital economy are the ones where you probably need to sign some sort of agreement based on that data. And if we can't do that, we have what I sometimes call the curse of partial digitalization, where you can open a bank account online because that's a low-risk transaction, and that's fine. And then we do eKYC, and that has positive effects for people who didn't have bank accounts before. But then when we want to do something meaningful, like get a credit card or get a microloan to start a business, or enter in some sort of agreement, or buy some insurance for our crops, because we're a farmer in a developing country who needs to buy crop insurance, otherwise they might lose their harvest, then we can't do that anymore. And then now we're back in the car, paying our transport costs to go somewhere far away to do that signature. So the wallet provides, e-signatures aren't new, but the wallet provides a platform to bring that into all these transactions that in a way it didn't before. And at the World Bank, we saw a lot of presentations about Europe, and Europe has become a center of gravity for this topic at the moment, between the qualified signatures that Tolis will talk about in a minute, and the new wallet regulation. But from the perspective of the World Bank, we see this is relevant to even the poorest countries in the world, to build this foundational infrastructure to allow the digital economy to take off with trust. And so one of my colleagues sitting down from me will talk more about interoperability of digital signatures and how we can extend that legal validity and that trust across borders, or between sectors, or between different regulatory jurisdictions. That's really powerful for things like trade and enabling other sorts of international data sharing and transactional use cases. But one thing I want to insist on is the risk-based approach, which was always part and parcel of EIDAS from the beginning, and is part of all of the e-transactions and e-commerce model laws from UNCITRAL, is this idea that while digital signatures and this very sophisticated PKI-based technology can deliver a very high level of trust, it also comes at a cost, it also comes at a usability premium, and that should be deployed selectively for when it's going to add value to the transaction. And in Europe, with the new EUDI framework, we see moving toward the adopting the most secure versions of these technologies, and that's probably the right move for Europe. But there's low and middle income countries where there's transactions that just aren't that high risk, and it's much more important to have really accessible solutions so that poor people and people in those countries can participate in the digital economy. So while digital signatures are super important, we want to keep those usability and cost considerations in mind. And yeah, so I just close by saying that we've already been at the World Bank supporting clients all over the world. Many of them are here on their DPI stacks and digital economies and digital government. And increasingly, we're mainstreaming in the electronic signing and digital signature and PKI capabilities into this project. So it's really exciting to be here and to see so much motivation to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. By the way, you have here the QR code for two reports co-authored by Christopher about public infrastructure and electronic signatures, which I highly recommend you to download it. So let's move now for the interoperability part. How do we ensure that digital transactions moving global, are interoperable when we talk about electronic signatures and digital signatures? And of course, ETSI has an important role, and Cloud Signature Consortium specifically for the cloud signing part. So who wants to start first?
Andrea?
Andrea, please.
I will start. Thank you very much, Vicky. So the story I want to tell about is the Cloud Signature Consortium. So digital signatures have existed for decades, but I can tell that the Cloud Signature Consortium is a story that really changed the game over the last few years. So the CSE standard was born from a very practical need. So I worked for Adobe, and when I started to implement digital signature in my platform, I had a problem to work with dozens of trust service providers who were talking a bespoke API or proprietary APIs. So the perspective for my management to implement dozens of different interfaces was essentially not accepted. And I knew that I couldn't essentially afford to just connect to a few of them with essentially a global need around. So instead, we wanted to try an open and vendor-neutral approach by essentially gathering the most brilliant minds in this industry and essentially try something that nobody had tried before. That was to develop an open API that could essentially make everyone happy with it and implement it. So the story we have today is essentially that we have around 80 plus members in this association with more than 100 implementations around the world. And really, around the world means from Europe to the US, from Japan to Brazil, from India to South Africa, from Israel to China. So literally every continent over there. And the CSC provides essentially a technical foundation with an API specification that allows the concept of remote digital signatures. So the credentials are stored as a service, which enables essentially everyone to use with any device in any context. So the work is not done yet because we have accepted the challenge to standardize what is now defined as signing with the digital identity wallet, which is based on the foundation of the eIDAS 2 requirement, but we are really conceiving it as a need for global adoption. We are not just European members, we are, as I said, members from all over the world. So this growing complexity of both technology and use cases deserve essentially the contribution from all the experts around the world. And that's essentially the scope of our association, which is also open to new members and also open to collaborations with the other standardization body, which we are also connected with. So in essence, it's a story of interoperability, as Chris was saying. That's truly important because we need to design the next age of applications that will make all these stories successful or a failure. So hopefully we are on the right track.
Thank you, Andrea. And you have here a cloud signature market report where you can find more information about who is using and for what purpose cloud-based digital signatures around the world. Next, over to you, Arno.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, also from the ETSI perspective, I can really confirm that there's a success story from the corporation. And if you now use A Trust from Austria or B Trust from Belgrade or D Trust from Berlin, or even our friends from South Africa with impression signatures, it works interoperable. And of course, if you are in a European framework, we deliver from ETSI, of course, the policies also to become qualified for qualified signatures and also in the near future for qualified attribute attestations. So please use the existing framework of European policies that are accepted also via the CA browser forum by the large browsers. Okay, they are not happy with it. Apple, Google, Amazon and co. They are not happy with our European policies, but they still accept us, hopefully, as alternative to web trust audits. So keep us also try this existing things into the next world of eIDAS 2024. And I think also important is also the next cooperation, of course, with Cloud Signature Consortium works very well, but also ETSI has a new cooperation with OpenID and also their interesting credentials and our infrastructures to take into account. I think that's a positive way forward. And so, yeah, we are quite optimistic that we can solve a lot of the challenges that are with eIDAS 2, but of course we have to be aware about the complexity.
Thank you, Arno. Now we have discussed about different implementations, standardizations, interoperability. How do we ensure the legal recognition when we move cross-border? Because in the end, it's about the receiving part, accepting the document that is signed and to be compliant with their requirements. And for that, the European Commission has done a tremendous effort in setting the framework, in providing the building blocks and materials on how to do the arrangement to have cross-border recognition. So I will pass through the floor to Tolis.
Thanks a lot, Vicky. My partners here in crime, because I have a long-lasting collaboration with most of them, with my dear Arno, Viky, Andrea, and I hope with Chris. The biggest problem is the legal aspect, because as you listen from Arno and from Andrea, the technical challenge is there. We know, we have identified which are the technical challenges. However, we have a more fundamental problem, which is the legal framework. And in EU, we have regulated heavily, some might say, but in my humble opinion, in the proper way, the trust service ecosystem. And the way we have regulated the trust service ecosystem via the Apladas regulation and with the amending regulation of the UDI digital identity framework, we make a lot of steps forward in order to try to drop all of these digital barriers, because I think that everybody, be it governments or businesses or individuals or citizens or companies, will be benefited by having a uniform approach on how, what we consider actually as legitimate in order to conclude some high-value business workflows. And this is what we're striving to achieve. We have created the Third Countries Trust List Program. We have been collaborating with several countries. We have published the Third Countries Address-Lotl. It is the first step for the mutual recognition on the qualified level for the trust service of another third country, between the EU and that third country. And we are going to also trigger the Article 14 of the Apladas regulation by the end of this year. At least this is our planning. Because at the end of the day, it's not only our willingness, but it's also the willingness of the third countries that we collaborate to come closer to us. But if next year in such a forum we have some very good news, this means that we are going to have achieved a lot more than what we have achieved today. And this is not only due to our efforts, but due to the efforts of ETSI, of big companies like Adobe, and of course, World Bank.
Thank you very much. You have on this slide on the a QR code to the European Commission website with a lot of resources for third countries and building blocks that can be reused. Now that we are close to our session, I'm looking at Rolf. One short key takeaway that you want to pass to the audience, what is important from your perspective to
Yeah, the proof of the pudding is eating, so we will make a plug test. And of course, ETSI is good in interoperability since many years, not only with smartphones. We make a plug test for attribute attestations, not at the premises at ETSI, but it's an offer. In February, March, there will be a large plug test offered by ETSI. Please take part and try to see how does it works or not.
Andrea?
One word that I would like to hear more in this conference is the word trust. So anything we are listening, anything we are saying is only valuable if there is a trust behind it. So that's what I envision to be the key word from this conference.
Tolis?
Couldn't agree more with my friend Andrea. trust is of paramount importance in order to make sure that everything is going to work and it's trustworthy. And we have to work all together from various sectors in order to achieve it. Otherwise, we are going to fail.
To build a trust infrastructure. Please, Chris.
For me, this conference is about wallets, but I think in a way, the wallet is almost incidental to what's happening in parallel, which is we're seeing all these standards maturing. We're seeing these governance frameworks being revised. We're seeing the technology finally keep up with the ideas and the theory and the practice are starting to come together. And for all the countries in the room, or at least the ones that we work with the World Bank, really look at these, there's so much research and development and thinking that's gone into these approaches and standards. And the more of it that you can find a way to adapt to your context, the more you'll benefit from that, and also the more you'll open yourself up to this trust being extended across borders.
Thank you very much. Thank you.